So how you doing, man?
I actually had a few days where I was helping a friend with depression, which was kind of therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
And I was using some things you taught me, and it seemed to be working. It was nice.
Well, hold on. Can I ask you about this? I mean, I want to preserve this person's privacy and everything.
Yeah.
But I think that's awesome. Can we talk about that for a second? I'm excited.
Sure.
So tell me a little bit about someone that you know and obviously care about was feeling sad or down or depressed.
Yeah. They're in a spot in life where they don't really know what path they want to go down. They have a lot of minor interests, but no big, overwhelming drive toward one specific thing.
Uh-huh.
And then I was able to relate that I was in a spot like that before, and how good it will feel to find the specific drive or motivator. Dharma, you call it, right?
Yeah.
And just trying to search with them for what they could do, what they're passionate about, asking a bunch of questions. It was fun for me. I was excited to help them find it. And we seem to be getting somewhere.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I don't think you need to like have a degree or be like a licensed professional to like help another human being. Yeah. So I think that's awesome, man. I'm so happy that you were able to do that for someone.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed I very much enjoy trying to help people find something they're passionate about. I took that Myers-Briggs 16 personality test.
Uh-huh.
What do you think about that, by the way?
So I think it is a useful tool to help people understand themselves in terms of like what resonates and what doesn't. There's a lot of non-independent research on Myers-Briggs. So Myers-Briggs has not been, to the best of my knowledge, very independently verified.
Okay.
So there's a Myers-Briggs Research Institute, and they do a lot of research. But I don't think it's been studied as well as something as like, let's say, the 5-factor model, which doesn't mean it isn't useful. It's just may not be as scientific as people think it is.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, Myers-Briggs is, in my opinion, based on Ayurveda, which not many people know.
Tell us about that a little.
So Myers-Briggs it was developed by people who were studying Carl Jung. So Carl Jung is the one who came up with the term introvert and extrovert, I think. Mm-hmm. And so they sort of took some of Carl Jung's teachings and then tried to develop a system of personality assessment based on Jung's work. And the interesting thing is like Jung's work is heavily influenced by Eastern philosophy and Eastern perspectives on the mind. So for example, the idea that there are different mental types, which is, I think Myers-Briggs has done the best job of sort of sharing this concept with the West, which is that like your mental type is not the same as other people's mental type, which is generally like when we think about psychology, like if you study a psychology textbook, they talk about like they talk about principles of the mind as if they apply to everyone.
Yes.
Right? But Myers-Briggs says, there are fundamentally different kinds of minds. And that concept, I think, is different from like, it's not actually a Western concept. That's actually like a concept that comes from Eastern medicine. Because Western psychology and science and medicine is about the standardization of all human beings. So like when you learn cardiac physiology, a heart is a heart is a heart.
Yeah, it's very beneficial to realize that the minds are different. So then you can try to, when you're communicating with someone, you can realize that their perspective is a different one than yours, that they see the world in another way, that even the things they enjoy or care about can be complete opposites, or I hadn't realized that so much. I guess that's what I was liking about a friend of mine talking about the Myers-Briggs. Yeah.
And I think just as a practical point, so I did a Myers-Briggs training where we did like a personality assessment through like the official institution as part of my psychiatry training. And I thought it was wonderful. Like there were all kinds of like there was actually a medical doctor who's a Myers-Briggs trained person who was teaching it. So she was explaining to us how a lot of the interactions we have within the field of medicine can be broken down according to Myers-Briggs personality typing, and I actually found it to be quite helpful. Do you know what or do you feel comfortable sharing what your type is?
Yeah, so I took it a long time ago, and back then I got INTP, but then I took it 2 days ago, and I got a completely different one. So I've changed, I guess, but I have to look up which one it was. I watched a YouTube video on what it was afterwards, so I'll look at my history. Let's see.
Did you take the official test or you took like an online version?
So I took some online version. It was pretty long, though. What's the official one in comparison?
I mean, you have to pay money for the official one usually.
And how long? How many questions is it?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay.
Maybe like 150 or something.
Okay. And I'm having trouble finding this. I got one that when I went on the YouTube video about it, it said that this personality type enjoys trying to help people find what they are passionate about.
Yeah.
ENFJ, I think.
That is wildly different from INTP.
Yeah. Yeah, let me make sure. ENFJ. Oh, wait. Maybe it was ENFP. Hold on. I was watching
Project
this video.
requirements move from the brainstorm.
Hold on. Yeah, was this the one? Yeah, okay, I think it was
Should
ENFP.
be agile project are met. Once the project
Yeah, so
requirements
in the
move from the
official Myers-Briggs test, they also give you like what percentage you are.
Uh-huh.
So for example, like you can be a strong T or a strong F, or you can be kind of in the middle.
Uh-huh.
And a couple of other things about Myers-Briggs typing. So you can like fluctuate over time and you can adopt different attitudes in different situations.
Yeah, so right now this seemed really fitting for me because it said that I like to start things and inspire people and give broad ideas, and then other people will go in and do the specifics, which is really accurate for what I'm doing on Everland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. How are you feeling?
Today?
Yeah.
So today I haven't taken psilocybin. I don't know if you can tell. I'm feeling okay. I have my usual low desire.
Okay.
I've had some wavering confidence recently. It's just coming and going. Like sometimes there'll be moments where I'm very confident in myself and wanting to talk to people. I'll be going on a walk outside by the river, and I'll start conversation with random people, and in a way that I was never able to do before. I used to maybe think, oh, how would I even talk to someone? I'll say hello, and then I'll run and have nothing else to say. But somehow I'll always think of a topic, something pertaining to exactly what's going on in the situation, or I don't know. And the conversation just flows, and it makes me feel confident and good that I can do that.
Yeah.
But then other days I feel low self-esteem and scared to look people in the eyes even.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going back and forth a lot, and how good I'm feeling has a lot to do with the validation I'm getting from others, and I'd love for it to be more independent. But if one person finds my my conversation or whatever uninteresting or uncomfortable for them, it'll affect my mood a lot, and I won't be able to focus or feel good about myself. Yeah.
Okay. Out of curiosity, the first time we talked, do you know if you had used psilocybin that day?
I had, but it had been like 5 hours before we began talking.
Okay.
So it was near the very end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How does it feel? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
How does it feel to sort of not have control over which Reckful shows up?
Well, I do have control because I can take it or not take it, and that's in my control, right?
Oh, okay. So do you feel like the confident Reckful shows up when you do take it?
Yeah, when I take it, everything's consistently better. And every single
Okay.
time I'm like, maybe I can be interesting without it. And maybe I prefer being without it today. If I decide to take it, then I do feel better every single time. It hasn't ever happened where I don't. It's interesting. So I was talking with Gary, my brother. He said he was watching our talks,
Mm-hmm.
and well, he was really happy for me anyway, that I'm feeling better nowadays. But he wanted me to mention to you that I've been missing him also in my life because he ran away and went backpacking in South America 15 years ago and never came back since then. He came back. He streamed with me like a couple of days, like in 2012, and he came for a few days here and there to the U.S., but he's just been traveling the world and staying in hostels for like 15 years. And he said he ran away because it was overwhelming for him, all the responsibility he had to take on in the family, that he felt like he had to be my dad when he was my brother, you know. I actually wanted to bring him on. He said he can't today, but next week he said he could come on if we want to talk three people.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, maybe that'd be good, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
people are excited about
what
that.
what do you think? What do you think about that, Reckful? About what he did, and why do you think it's relevant here?
Well, why did he mention it? Or why do I think it's relevant to?
Why do you think it's relevant?
I think it's relevant because it helps paint a fuller picture of the story of our family.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, his experience was probably a lot harder than mine, because he was 16 when it happened, and it's more formative years, I guess, or I'd guess so. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And his personality shifted, 180 degrees when it happened. He was texting me talking about how he feels to blame that my brother died, and he feels like he knew he was going to kill himself and that he could have stopped it. And he feels like my brother didn't directly tell him, but he knew. And, when you go down that thought process, it's really hard.
What's hard about that thought process?
For him, to take the blame on for it, that's very hard. And I was telling him, though, that it would have happened regardless if it didn't happen that day, because I know what it's like to be sad for years, and it's really hard to avoid trying to kill yourself at some point.
Yeah.
Now, unless he had found a really good therapist or some medication, I think it would have happened regardless.
Or psilocybin.
Or psilocybin, yeah, which that's medication, I think.
Yeah.
Or meditation, maybe. I think the problem with meditation, even if it gets you there, a really depressed person won't put in the time required. That's the problem. So I believe
agree.
you fully that meditation can get someone there. I just don't believe
Get someone where?
out of depression.
Okay.
But I think it's really hard to get a depressed person to start meditating and stick with it. Similarly to how I feel it's very hard to get an anxious person to go to therapy because they're too anxious about going.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
So I think the tricky thing about meditation is, while it is an evidence-based treatment for a lot of mental health issues, it requires a lot of, I don't think it's a good acute treatment, right? So when we think about medicine, there are acute treatments and then there are like non-acute treatments. So I think yoga and surgery are both good for your body, but if you've been acutely injured in a motor vehicle accident, you need surgery, not yoga.
Yeah.
And I think yoga is good for like the healing process and to make sure you maintain mobility and things like that afterward. And I kind of think about meditation the same way. So I actually dislike it sometimes when some people come to me and they say, I'm super, super depressed. I don't want medication. I just want to meditate my way through it. And I'm happy to have them try that.
Okay.
But I think that science has given us a lot of tools, including, psychoactive compounds like medications. And then if things go, I just saw a couple of other things about FDA fast tracking MDMA and other of these psychoactive compounds, because I do think that they're therapeutic.
Yeah.
But kind of, is it okay?
They push you right into the experience. They, well, at least they open the door for you, and it's really easy to go in that door. I heard it. MDMA helps with PTSD. I think we talked about it a little bit. Yeah.
So, Reckful, if we were to just think a little bit about what direction you want to go, so I feel like we have a couple of open doors that we can explore. One is that, if you want to continue talking about psilocybin and how it makes you feel and when you use it and when you don't, we can talk about Gary and what it was like. You were sort of putting yourself in his shoes a little bit and sort of imagining what it was like for him.
Uh-huh.
And we can continue to explore that. Or we can talk about what it was like for you to have Gary leave. And I think all three of those are good. What do you think we should spend our time on today?
It's interesting. Today, all of those sound scary to explore. Maybe it's because I'm not on psilocybin, but I think about it, and it sounds like a daunting task to go down any of those paths.
Okay.
I don't know which one we should go down. I'd prefer if you chose.
So,
I guess. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So I am going to actually offer number 4. So how do you face life when life gives you daunting tasks? Right? So let's not force ourselves through any one of those roads, and let's try to find you where you are, because I'm so glad you said that, Reckful. Because I think a lot of the challenge, like you said, it's hard to meditate when you're feeling a certain way.
Yes.
And the way that you're feeling, instead of just pushing you down a path because it's quote unquote good for you or, helps you understand things or whatever, let's try to meet you where you are and talk about what does it feel like?
I like this thought process.
To live where you are right now.
Yeah.
What is it like when you have a choice in life to take some substance and then for things to no longer be as daunting, and then to not take that substance some days, and then life feels daunting? That sounds terrifying to me.
Maybe a bit. It's more terrifying to not have the option to take anything, because then you're hopeless.
Okay.
But I agree with you that most people wouldn't like the feeling of reliance on anything like that. I also often get the feeling of reliance on other people. I don't do well alone. And I'll be very overbearing for people sometimes, because sometimes I feel like I just need someone to talk to. I can't be in my thoughts. I'm losing my mind in my room. I just can't handle it. So I'll just message someone and they won't respond, and I'll message them again, and I'll have this huge wall of text, and then they'll be like, oh, this person is just too much for me. Even if it's a long-term friend, someone I've known for 7 years. Be like, and then I'll notice they'll start talking to me less and less because of these situations where I was overbearing or just needed them at the specific time and try to push them to go outside with me, or, spontaneously. I always want to do these spontaneous things, and most people like to plan more. I've always had trouble planning. I never bought a round trip plane ticket. Yeah.
What is it within you what are you hungry for in those moments where you need someone else?
Connection. I want to hear someone relating to me in some way. Well, I think I do, but then if I actually reach out to someone very depressed, then we bounce off back and forth about how much life sucks, and it just gets darker and darker. So, and then if I reach out to someone happy, I can't relate to them.
Sounds like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it looks like you're looking for something, but are there people that you can connect with that sort of have the balance that makes you feel better?
Once in a while, and it's really incredible when I find that. And those people mean so much to me. I'm so scared for them to disappear. Because there'll be people who have been there but are currently okay. And I think those are the ones, when I talk to them, they can relate, but they can also be optimists. Yeah.
Yep. I think that's a really important realization. So I'm going to just repeat back some words at you. And so it sounds like you're looking for connection.
Yes.
Right? And that you're looking for a particular kind of connection, someone who understands where you are, but at the same time isn't where you are.
Yes.
And when you find someone like that, you feel something within you feels really good. So how do we describe the way you feel when you find someone like that?
When I find someone like that, it feels... I guess I was smiling just thinking about it. I think I'm looking a little bit for family in my friendships. And it feels like I have a family member at that moment.
Have you thought about that before?
No, that was just now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that you got there that quick. I think you're learning fast.
Yeah. I wonder if I can process these thoughts better sober. I feel... So there's this disconnect that I'm not interested in my own thoughts right now. You know, because I have no desires. Because that's how I am. And but I assume that if I'm on psilocybin, since I'm having more fun, since I'm getting provoked by thought, that my own thoughts are stimulating my mind, that everyone else is more interested in what I'm saying as well, which isn't exactly always true. I can't tell because I'm locked in my experience. And if my experience is better, I assume other people's experience is better. Usually as a streamer, that is the case. If I'm laughing, other people are laughing. It's been true. But there have been a couple times where I've been really happy and there was this really strong disconnect with my chat. They were not enjoying me that day. And that doesn't seem like a profound realization, but it was. Anyway, I can't tell right now if I am thinking or getting to the correct conclusions quickly or more slowly than usual. I feel like I'm talking slowly right now.
You are talking slowly.
Yeah.
You're certainly less animated. So there's also another layer of something going on. Is like when we're talking about you and suddenly you start talking about your interactions with your viewers. Right? So this we have to be careful about, because how much of the person that you try to be is about being you, and how much about it is like being what your viewers want?
Well, I've had a moral in my head since I started streaming, and I guess since I've started living, really, that I always want to be true to myself. I want to...
Awesome.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
It's one of my favorite ones. Because is a little harder to define. I've always noticed myself getting annoyed with other people who are putting up a facade or an alternate persona. I also think it's damaging to society in general for anyone to be pretending to be happy when they're not. Actually sharing your pain helps others relate. If people are just watching happy people all the time, they wonder what's wrong with me. You know.
I think that encapsulates a lot of what's the damage of social media.
Yeah, I agree. And even on social media, even I'm guilty of it, because I don't feel like tweeting, hey, I want to die right now. Doesn't really, don't really tweet that. But and then if I'm having a good thought, a happy thought, I'll tweet that. If I'm live streaming, I'll share the negative and the positive, but on social media, you tend not to.
Out of curiosity, if you tweet, I feel like dying right now, and you get a bunch of likes
What
for
does the
that
like
tweet,
mean? Yeah.
I know, it's like, what does that even mean? Does that mean we love you and please don't hurt yourself, or does it mean
I don't know. We could test
the
it.
opposite? It's like so confusing. I don't even know what that means. Like I wouldn't know how to interpret that.
I think all the employees of Everland would be a little worried about their job if I tweeted it. Which
Sure.
was not good for me or for anyone else.
So, Reckful, is it okay if I kind of go back to sort of you and the way that you experience things and take a step back a little bit from some of this social commentary?
Sure.
So this all started with a question that I asked you about, what does it feel like when you find that connection? And then you paused and you were thinking for a little bit. And then you said, took the words out of my mouth and you said, it feels like I'm trying to replace family with friends.
Yeah.
And then we went off on this track of sort of like, I don't know if I don't know if I understand things better or worse when I'm on psilocybin or, and so you kind of went off on that tangent. And we
Yeah,
can explore that too about like, what is the nature of your understanding that you gain? What does it feel like? What are the advantages and disadvantages of being able to swim in both worlds, or should we just pick one or over the other? But if it's okay with you, we can run with this thread of connecting with another human being, because I think there's more there.
Sure.
So can you help us understand what you meant when you were a 5-head or 6-head and you said, I feel like I'm trying to replace, I feel like I'm trying to, I'm treating my friends like family or something?
Yeah. So,
How did you get to that conclusion?
well, it crossed my mind this feeling I had when I was 5 years old and came home and saw laughing and smiling faces on the couch. Something I never saw again after I was 6. I've been thinking about that a lot recently, ever since we started talking. And I realize I've always craved that to come back, to bring that back. And a couple times I've tried to facilitate situations with friends where this would happen. I lived with a bunch of friends in a gamer house, and I'd want to come home and see a couple friends around the couch.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'd be playing Mario or something. And coming home to that gave me some deep satisfaction that I needed, I guess, from my childhood. But maybe not just from my childhood. I mean, people need it as adults too, even if they had it.
So,
as children.
so what is that satisfaction that you're looking for? What is that feeling that you're like when you connect with someone and they understand you?
Just I can feel what it is right now, but I can't describe it. My right brain knows.
What does it feel like in your body?
It's that feeling when you really want to hug. Don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing in your face is an aching loneliness. Just an abject sense of just being alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it like hurts, right? It's like not just being lonely. Like lonely doesn't describe it. It's like hurts. Feels like something's missing, and the only thing that can, like, you need someone else to fill that in, because you've tried for a long time to like fill it yourself and you just can't.
Yeah. But it keeps happening where the people I'm trying to fill it in with think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Because they're not as needy as I am.
So now there's a whole other layer to this. Do you need a minute, or can we keep going?
No, we can keep going.
So I think there are two fears here. One is like the feeling of aching and loneliness, and the second is when you find those people, the fear that they're going to leave too, that you're going to do something and then they're going to stop returning your texts. Yeah. So it's not an irrational fear, right? So what do we call that?
I don't. What do we
call it when you're afraid of someone leaving?
Don't you call it fear of abandonment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in your case, Reckful, this needs to be understood very clearly. So some people, when they recognize those things within themselves, they blame themselves, right? They say, I shouldn't feel this way, or this is weakness, or I should be able to be independent. Do you have those thoughts?
I used to, because everyone I talked to would tell me, oh, I don't know why you're in a relationship when you can't even be happy alone. Or, that's a very common line I hear. And I would say, well, if I wasn't in the relationship, I'd want to die.
Okay.
And obviously not a healthy train of
So
thought, but it would not make sense.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, okay?
Yeah.
Now, if you have someone who's lonely, or not even lonely, how does someone get comfortable? How can I say this? How does someone get comfortable with being alone? Like, what has to happen for them to feel comfortable with like separation from other human beings? And this may be a little bit of a read my mind question, so sorry, I don't know how to ask it well.
Well, I mean, that void that you're talking about needs to be filled, but I don't know how to fill it. If I had a family, maybe it would be okay. But in my situation, what can I do? I'm not sure.
Not in your situation, what you can do. Oddly enough, I think you're on the right track, and I want to stop you there because I want to talk about someone else. Let's talk about someone besides you, right? If you have a person who feels lonely and feels like they have a void within them, what is the solution? Because there's the camp of people who says, why are you in a relationship if you can't be happy by yourself, right? They're saying like, okay, the first thing you need to do is fill that void, and then you can be with someone in a healthy and productive way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what they say.
That's what they say, right? But let's just think about that for a second. Is that actually correct? Because if you have that void within you and you feel loneliness within you, if you're afraid of abandonment, how do you get someone to stop fearing abandonment?
You don't abandon them.
Absolutely. So this needs to be understood, Reckful. You cannot fix this for yourself.
That's a bit scary, yeah?
Right? Yeah. So it's not that the relationship has to happen after you fix this for yourself. Or I mean, maybe you can fix it for yourself. Maybe that's unfair for me to say. It's kind of like a blanket statement. So I think maybe you can.
Generally what you've seen it.
But generally, when I think about people who have been abandoned, they fear abandonment. And that's what happened to you, right? Like, because apparently you weren't abandoned by just one brother.
Yeah.
Right? How old are you now?
30.
Okay. So when you were 15, one brother left when you were 6.
One 15.
And the other brother left when you were?
15, yeah.
Yeah. And that's hard, right? And so like this is like so yeah, I mean I don't want...
It wasn't just like he left for a job or to school. It was he left the country and never came back.
Yeah, so if he left for like college or a job, like that I don't think is the same. Is like he just up and like straight up left.
Yeah, because when he had left for college, it was okay. He would come back some weekends.
Yeah.
And we would play Final Fantasy VII. We'd take turns or some things like that. Yeah. And order Chinese food, I remember.
Yeah. And I mean, it was bad enough without one, and I think you were maybe getting your sea legs under you, and then like round 2 hits. And then what happens is you have this thing that's afraid that other people are going to leave you, and I think the problem is that you're smart, and something probably very vicious happens, and
it's a
I can imagine
self-fulfilling
it's
prophecy that if I'm afraid they're going to leave me, then they will leave me because I'll be overbearing and they can't.
And you can see it happening, and it terrifies you because you can't stop it, and you know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And each time it happens, it's another abandonment, another abandonment, another abandonment.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had about... There have been like 3 or 4 people just in the last few months that I've started to talk to regularly. And then I was quickly too much. They liked me at first in my company, and then I was quickly too needy or too much for them, and they started feeling like they should ignore me, which is it doesn't even feel unreasonable. Not mad.
Yeah. So what it comes down to, so I'm going to share a little bit of data, okay? And I want to be very clear about this. I'm going to talk to you about something called borderline personality disorder. I don't think you have this, by the way.
Really?
It's not my place to
Okay.
diagnose.
A lot of people think I do have that.
Maybe you do. I don't know. So I don't have enough diagnostic.
I don't know anything.
So I'm going to just talk a little bit about borderline personality disorder because I think that there's some features of it which are relevant.
Yeah. Okay.
And also like some very interesting data that some people don't know. So the first is that borderline personality disorder, a lot of times these people have a fear of abandonment.
Okay.
And so they do get overly clingy. And as they get overly clingy, they sort of like force people away. And then it kind of like reinforces their fear that like they're unlovable.
Yeah.
And then that sort of, and each round makes it worse because once you do it to the first person, your sense of being unlovable increases. And then when you interact with the next human being, like that wolf has become hungrier. And so when they sort of treat you well, they feel really good about themselves. And when the person starts to like kind of slip away, it gets like stronger and stronger and stronger. And each round is like becomes, as you put it, a self-fulfilling prophecy and makes it harder.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what many people don't know about BPD is that BPD, there's actually some very interesting data. So a lot of people think of BPD as being incurable. But there's some really fascinating data that if you can get in a stable relationship for 2 years and have someone not abandon you, then there's a 50% chance your BPD will like actually go away. So it's really fascinating.
So and it's the opposite of you shouldn't get in a relationship until you're stable.
Yeah. So a lot of people struggle with BPD, but it's a really fascinating little snippet of research, which I don't think is like well understood by many people, disputed by many people. But the truth is that the majority of people who have BPD never see a psychiatrist. They just live their lives. And then some people, they're just like kind of crazy until like their 30s and their second marriage. And they find someone who's like stable enough to like not abandon them and also deal with their like neediness. And then like over time, they get better because they start to like recognize, oh, this person actually isn't going to leave. And then like if you realize that someone isn't going to leave you, then what does that do to like like that loneliness inside?
I heard you, but your camera froze.
Oh shit! Sorry. Yeah, this is freezing.
Okay.
But
what the last couple words went a little robot.
So
what does that do to?
If the aching loneliness inside you, if someone doesn't leave you, and you have faith and confidence in that,
I'd become more stable. I'd go through my days feeling like my presence was desired. I'd be able to go in my room alone and work on something and not feel like I needed to be near someone at that moment because I know they'd be there for me later.
Exactly. That's the key thing, right? You know they're going to be here for you later. And the problem right now is when you start texting people a little bit much and they can't handle it, you don't know that they're going to be here there for you. I don't,
yeah.
And that's what terrifies you. So the other way, so like even if you dispute the research on BPD, and I don't know if you have BPD or you don't have BPD, but think about it this way. If a child feels insecure about like being abandoned, like what do? Like when a kid...
Probably hug them a lot and just spend time with them. And
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So like I'll share a little bit from my personal life. So when I had my second kid, my first kid was like really confused, and she was like super, super clingy to me because she didn't understand what was happening. So like I went to the hospital with my wife, and we were like at the hospital, and my in-laws, so her grandparents, were staying with her. They did an awesome job and she likes them. But she was 2 years old and she literally did not understand what was going on.
Right,
She did
yeah.
not understand like why my wife and I would not come home.
Yeah. That makes sense, yeah.
And she would come and see us every day in the hospital. And she would be like excited when she saw us, and she would actually be okay leaving because she's like a pretty, confident, sort of loving kid.
Mm-hmm.
But she just did not understand like why mommy and daddy were like not coming back.
Yeah.
And so she got super, super clingy for about a year. And that was like doubly so because especially towards the end of my wife's pregnancy, she used to do some things like she would Bollywood dance with my 2-year-old. But as she was like 8 and 9 months pregnant, she can't pick her up and throw her in the air and things like that. And so the 2-year-old was already like noticing that something is different. And then she like was attached to me at the hip.
Even at that age, there's that perceptive, huh?
That perceptive.
Yeah.
Right? So then for a period of about a year, she didn't understand because like my wife would have to feed the newborn, right? So she was like tired all day and things like that. She couldn't be like the person that my 2-year-old had come to know and love and expect.
The level of attention she had come to expect had diminished.
Yeah. And so she did not feel good in herself, right? The 2-year-old just didn't.
Yeah.
Because she didn't understand why these people are not doing the things, like, is something wrong with me? She didn't understand why they went away.
Yeah.
Because when you're 2 or because when you're 5 and someone goes away, like, you don't understand why they did that. You don't have the capacity to understand that they did that because of them and not because of you.
Yeah. I still never believe that sentence.
Yep. Right? Because like you can't believe it because you didn't have the capacity to believe it. And that thing still exists within you.
Yeah.
And so what did she need to get out of it? So she's 2, not that complicated, right? She needed a third of her life to have someone who did not like abandon her in a very like intentional way. So my wife and I, we had this like conversation when she was like, we had these several conversations that like, okay, your bond with the new kid is not the same as your bond with the old kid because you're spending all the time with Vera. Vera's our older daughter. Our younger daughter's name is Avi.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was like saying that like, you're not spending time with Avi the way that you used to spend time with Vera. And we would kind of like talk about it. And it's like, well, yeah, that's because like Vera needs me more. And so we're really concerned about sort of playing favorites and stuff. But I think in her case, it took her, huh?
That's tough. I haven't thought about the intricacies of having multiple children and how you want it to be balanced where you give them both equal time. But what if one of them needs you more because they're like this? Yeah. Then you start to give one more attention, then the other one might be subtly losing confidence or.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. I wouldn't know what to do. There's no obvious logical solution.
Well, I mean, so when you talk to people, I think there are solutions that are simpler that tend to do the trick. So for example, like we made it a point to do like one-on-one time, like each of us would swap traditional things. So like, for example, my wife would usually give Vera a bath. And then I'd say like, okay, for this month, I'm going to give her a bath instead of you. Let's just swap the things that we do. So there are a couple of actually pretty easy, like low-hanging fruit. Turns out to be
it's
not.
something. It's not exactly balanced, though. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah, but it's just they need like some one-on-one time consistently.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But the point here, Reckful, is I think like your solution is not that like you need to learn how to be independent. I think like I don't know if I'm painting this picture for you appropriately, but like what do you think needs? So like what did we manage to do for our 2-year-old that never happened for you?
You gave the 2-year-old enough attention.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you need. You need someone in your life who's not going to turn away for a period of at least 2 years. And you may be terrified that they'll turn away at 2.5.
Right. I might never get it. I mean, there's no guarantee I will, but I'll look for it, yeah.
Yeah. So sure there is.
I would not say so. I've
There's only
gotten
one
in
way.
some really unhealthy situations because I'm so desperate for human interaction that I'll have, paid people's rent just so they'd be my roommate. So I'd have someone around, Done it a few times. Just a lot of dumb things like that, or try to get them to quit their jobs and like give them a new job that requires less time so I could have a friend. And then obviously I've realized that these things are unhealthy, but I was just in desperate situations where I needed human interaction.
So, Reckful, I'm confident I'm confident that there's going to be someone around in your life who will be there for you most of the time when you need them, hopefully, for at least a period of 2 years.
Okay.
How can I be confident in that?
How can you be confident?
Yeah.
Well, you find me stimulating to talk to, and I'm not demanding too much of your time or spamming you with walls of text. And even if I were, you'd feel inclined to answer me because it's you love helping people. it's your passion. So from your perspective, maybe you can feel confident, but then if you put yourself in the shoes of any other human being, I don't know that they'll really spend 2 years with me unless there's something.
So, Reckful, I'm not counting on them to spend 2 years with you.
What are you counting on?
I'm counting on myself.
Oh, that
It's the
you'll
only
spend
thing
2
I
years
can
with
be
me.
confident.
Yeah, that I believe. That I can believe. That.
So I can't trust any of them.
True.
So
it's
I'm
nice
gonna try
having
to love
someone to
you
come
for.
to every week like this.
I'm gonna try to love you for 2 years, at a minimum.
I really appreciate it.
So this is the other thing is that I do helping people, but I also like helping you. And I want you to understand this, Reckful. I'm not even helping you. Like, this isn't help. I don't like the phrase help. Help implies like charity, right? It implies that you have something and that you have nothing and I have something and I'm like helping you. I'm not helping you. This is just me being human and you being human. I don't know if that makes any sense. I think it's one of the hardest concepts.
What do you mean by human?
It's just like we're just being us, man. It's not something
You're
fancy.
doing what
it's
you
not something
enjoy.
magical. It's not about enjoy. It's I'm being who I am and you are being who you are. And that's the most that we can expect of ourselves.
Yeah, I want to say that I fully understand, but I don't.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And if you do spam me with walls of text, I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
No, actually, I like this. This is good practice that I have to wait the week because that's what other people want me to do. They want me to plan ahead and wait to see them when they have time and not be like, oh, I need to hang out right now. I need, let's go outside. I need someone to talk to, please, Yeah.
And this is the other important thing, Reckful. Very important. Very, very important. Okay?
Yeah.
We have to be careful about our relationship.
Yeah.
Because the challenge is that when you start doing things to get people to be with you, you can do that, but it taints what they mean to you. And it taints the color of what that person does for you. Because then something like goes into your mind and it's kind of like, are they doing this because I'm paying their rent or are they doing this because they like me?
Yeah. I see what you mean.
So it's very important that we're very careful about like not tainting, and for you to go forward, if there's someone that you want to form a relationship with, don't taint the relationship. Don't try to, or just be aware of that. Because what you really need is someone who wants you for you.
Yeah.
And
Are
you
you
make that hard on them by giving them things that they may need in life.
Yeah, but recently I tried to make it mutually beneficial. At least I hope so.
I mean, things can be, you can engage in mutually beneficial relationships. That's fine. I'm just saying, like, be careful about when your loneliness, there's a difference between helping someone out because they're your friend and you care about them as a genuine person,
Yeah.
and you're just trying to help them out. And there's a difference between that and trying to keep someone close to you because you're feeling lonely.
Yeah. I've done both for sure. More of the latter.
And sometimes those get muddled.
Yeah.
So
I'm not saying anything. I was just breathing.
Okay. So just going forward, just be careful about that. And try to notice that loneliness within you.
I'm trying. So it keeps happening where I'm hiring people on Everland. They're very talented, but I also like spending time with them. So it's getting close to that muddled area, but it really does seem like the correct play. I'll ask, I'll ask Talbadar, my lead designer, if this is a good hire. And he'll say, yes, it really is. They're amazing. But I think this is a situation where it's mutually beneficial. That's what I actually really like about this whole game development thing is they're getting a job. God, my first thought was I'm getting a friend, but it's funny. They're getting a job. I'm getting a friend. I'm getting someone to, and I'm also, the project is progressing because of it, and it's forming a sense of community in our workspace.
Yeah, so I think that makes sense, and I think that it's challenging to navigate those relationships. And what I want you to do is cut yourself some slack. Okay, because you have a big void of love, and that's gonna cause you to do a couple of things, and that's not it's not your fault, right? You just need more love, man, and that's okay. And at the same time, I think you should be intentional about giving yourself the opportunities to be cared for, appreciated, and loved by other human beings who are not your employees, and to cultivate those relationships.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I
have a few now.
Yeah.
My old friends from WoW are the best examples because
Good.
We just met online and played games together and talked every day for years. Formed a deep sense of community. It was a little sad for me. It's similarly to how after high school, you and all your friends go to different places or pursue different walks of life. After World of Warcraft, all my friends went to different games or careers, even if we went to the same career, if it happened to be streaming, it's actually such an isolating job most of the time. Not for you because you're talking to someone every time, but for most people, they're streaming on their own, just playing a game, right? So it wasn't the same as when we just spent time together online.
Yeah. Good. How you feeling right now?
I'm happy that I was able to come on here without psilocybin and still deep dive some critically think, get somewhere, learn something. Also, I think my viewers probably like seeing the other side of me here because I've been on psilocybin every stream for a while. I'm scared to be this version of me in front of people now a little bit. They used to see this version of me all the time, but I'm just identifying more with my happy side. I like being happy me. Who doesn't? Right?
Yeah.
I wonder what people think, actually. I'll ask them at the end. Maybe they
So
like both
I think
knees.
I think you're doing a really good job, Reckful, because I think you're right. I mean, who doesn't like to be the happy version of themselves? But I think that the real you and is not all happiness. That's not what life is like. Life is not just like, just the happy side of life. And then there are a lot of people who try to chase that part of themselves. What I would advocate for you to do, along with just about everyone else, is that you be both of these people and you learn how to be sad, Reckful better. Because I do believe that you can be this person and it not be as hard or as painful as it is for you to experience like day to day now. Like, I think that if you have someone who consistently loves you and demonstrates that they're not going to leave you for a period of 2 years, like being this person is going to be completely different. And the sad and difficult thing is that's not something you can do. You can't make someone love you. Like, that's just something that depends on your karma. Someone has to come into your life and you have to like create this time and space for that relationship to grow.
It makes sense what you're saying, because there have been times in my life where I've just given everything up for a relationship, and now I understand why. I'll just stop streaming and I'll go anywhere, do anything to be closer to the person.
Yeah.
And yeah, because yeah.
And so this is the hard thing. This is why I guess maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot here, but I guess I'm volunteering. And the reason is because I think that person needs to also, I mean, they don't need to understand this, but I think that person needs to not let you do that as well.
Yeah.
Right?
I've
so that
realized
person don't let you, like, if you want to move to Boston, I'm going to say no.
Right.
Right? And it doesn't mean that I don't care about you, but it's just you should continue to live your life and have some degree of constancy from someone. And it sounds like you're in a romantic relationship. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be.
Right now I'm not, no.
Oh, okay.
I was, though. I dated a Twitch streamer girl, and we met in Japan. We were both IRL streaming in Japan. And it was so exciting to meet like that. And then we traveled to other places together. But then when life kind of settled and slowed down, I, was slowly giving up everything just to spend more time with her. At one point, I actually deleted my Twitch channel, which my viewers thought was insane. Because I don't know. I can't even explain why. I don't know.
Okay. Well,
but
conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
Do you feel like meditating for a few minutes? Do you have questions?
Yeah. I feel like I need a break from thought.
Yeah, good. Do you want to take a break for a few minutes first and then meditate,
No.
or should we go straight to
right
meditate?
now?
How clogged is your nose?
It's pretty good. I'm getting over the sickness finally. I think I've been sick the whole time we've known each other. Maybe not the first session. Yeah.
So nowadays I've been on a chanting kick. I've chanted with a couple of people. How do you feel about trying that?
I saw you do it with Lily. By the way, I love Lily. And I'm really happy you talked to her. And I'd love to see more of that. Yeah.
More what do you mean
More of
by
you
that?
talking to Lily, I mean.
Oh, okay.
It made me happy.
Good.
I saw her do the chanting and feel super awkward. I liked that whole thought process behind it. It was like, that she has to overcome this awkwardness. I liked it.
Yeah, so I think are you feel up to chanting?
Yeah, let's do it. I've never done it.
Okay, so remember that chanting is, and you guys should do this at home as well. So chanting is composed of 3 syllables. Oh, we're going to do Om chanting. So, okay? And thanks for the subs, Andy Milanakis.
Andy Milanakis. I know him.
Oh, yeah, so he's a famous person, right?
He is a famous person, yeah.
He just gifted a bunch of subs, so thank you very much, man. Okay, so we're going to do Om chanting. So I'm going to demonstrate 1 round, and then we're going to do 1 round together, and then I'm going to hear you do 1 round, okay? So sure. I'll demonstrate once. One round together.
I messed up. I did the second, but I got it now. I get it. Let's go
Okay,
again.
so now let's see. Here you do it on your own. Okay. So I think the second two are cutting out just like they did with Lily, which is fine. So I'm going to give you
Cutting
one or
out?
two tips. Yeah, they're cutting out.
Okay.
So maybe try to be louder. The second thing is I want you to open your mouth more. So eyes not
Don't hear that every day. Okay.
Beautiful. Okay, now eyes closed. Remember that chanting is about vibration, not about sound. So I want you to try to feel the vibration in your body, and I'm going to ask you, Reckful, at the end of it, where you felt the vibration. Which part of your body. So pay attention to the sound. Each sound is going to feel slightly different in your body, and we're going to ask you about that afterward. Okay. We're going to do 5 breaths together, okay? Again. Again.
Ran out of breath. Okay, I think I feel it here.
We're going to do 2 more. No
Okay.
talking. 2 more. Just hands down. 2 more. So deep breath in. Two more after that. Last one. Big deep breath. Now sit with your eyes closed and just feel. All right, Reckful, come on back. How do you feel?
I really drifted away during that. I was not the first one I was self-conscious and giggling a bit, and then I was gone. I was just immersed in it, which is surprising to me that I was able to do that. Yeah.
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 How do you feel right now?
I really enjoyed turning off my brain for a bit. We had talked, and usually I love stimulating conversation back and forth, but then I felt burnt out, and then transitioning into consciousness without thought was amazing.
So I want you to do something. I want you to just like look at your face, like go back and watch the VOD and look at your face now and look at your face at the beginning of the interview.
You're completely it's gonna be person. Happier, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can be happy this way. Just give it some time.
I think I can. Yeah. We can go more into that later. I think I can. Definitely the feelings of the fears of abandonment and my desires. When I'm actually consciously thinking, life is a lot worse right now. When I'm not thinking, it's pretty similar. I mean, I guess by definition, which is you're trying to get me to the not thinking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But my thoughts go in loops a lot more, negative ones. If I'm thinking, it's like there's that analogy with the sleds on the snowy mountain. You heard that one?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, when
I understand it.
Yeah. Ah.
So this is the thing, like, I mean, the one I tell is the game trail. So, like, if you think about like a field and a deer walks across it, like the whole field is the same, but the deer walks across one path.
Yep.
And that grass is a little bit trampled.
Yes.
And so the next animal that goes by takes that path again, and it becomes a little bit more trampled. And then over time, you develop a trail.
And this trail is what your thoughts are following over and over.
Yeah. And that's how your neurons work too. That once you get used to thinking in a particular cycle, like your thoughts, like kind of they love going down that pathway again.
How do we untrample the grass, or how do we break these loops without medication?
So medication doesn't break the loops. Let's start there. Okay.
Really? Okay.
So yeah. So like let's just think about it. So if you were to say, let's say we have a field of grass and we have a game trail because 1,000 animals have gone down it, and I were to ask you, Reckful, how do we make a different game trail?
We'd have to repeat new thoughts in our head over and over.
There it is. Right?
Which is, so I think, why people do the gratitude journals.
Yeah.
A little bit, maybe?
So yeah, absolutely. So I think that's one reason they do gratitude. So I think gratitude is one way to do that.
Talking to you is fun.
I think... I
just said talking to you is fun.
And so the other thing is we think about things in a new way, right? And once you learn something, like once you start like recognizing, oh, okay. And I think you recognize things within yourself. So you recognize, okay, there's a thought, my mind is about to go down this game trail, but I've also started this other game trail. So let me see if I can redirect down there. That's what reframing a cognitive bias is about. So when people tell you like, oh, Reckful, you're lonely and you should learn how to be independent, and then you beat yourself up for feeling lonely and you feel like you should be independent because there are other people who are your age and look at how independent they are. All of your thoughts, those are a bunch of game trails, but then you say, no, hold on a second. I'm different and I do feel lonely. I'm allowed to feel lonely, and I'm going to feel lonely until I get enough love.
I love that you're telling me this, because everyone else has told me the opposite my whole life.
Yeah, and how has that worked for you?
No, good.
There we go.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah. I mean, that's like the clinician within me says, if you give someone a treatment for 30 years and it doesn't work, maybe try something else.
Yeah. It's like the trying the same thing over and over is the definition of insanity thing.
Yeah. Flip. Right? So it doesn't work for you. So if at first you don't succeed, don't try again. Try it a different way.
Yeah.
And in your case, I don't think, it's not a complicated psychological thing. I think maybe it is, but like, I think at the end of the day, like you just needed more TLC than you got. And it doesn't mean that your parents did a bad job or TLC? That anyone did a bad job. Tender love and care.
Tender love and care.
and you boomer terminology, Reckful.
Is that banned TLC? Is that what it means?
Oh,
What is
I don't
banned?
know. I don't know anything about bands.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, so any questions for me before we wrap up?
Um,
Specific thoughts, questions?
what do you think about me on and off psilocybin? What's your take on it?
I mean, my take is that you are where you are right now. And in order for you, so I mean, I place a value judgment on psilocybin and substance use because of like my life,
Gotcha.
but I try not to judge other people. Like, I don't know if I've shared this on stream, but one of my patients who has a lot of physical real problems, like confessed to me that they use marijuana from time to time. And they were afraid that I was going to be upset because because I teach meditation and yoga and they come to me to learn all this like healthy, natural kind of stuff. And I was like, look, you're doing everything right. You do yoga 5 days a week, you meditate every day, you're eating healthy. And sometimes life just gives you pain. And if you're saying that you use marijuana from time to time, like twice a month, because there are just days where it just really, really sucks and you need a break, like I think, that's fine. Like you have to decide for yourself.
Yeah.
So the choices that I make in my life about what I choose to use and the value judgments that I place are for me. They're not for you. Now, I think the only thing that I would really, oh, wow. So Learn gifted just a bunch of subs. So thank you very much, Learn. So the only thing that I would say for you, Reckful, is the only mistake that I think you can truly make is to not be reflective about it.
Okay.
If you go through an honest process of exploring alternatives and seeing how the way you feel and trying to live is sad Reckful as opposed to happy Reckful, like explore that and then come to your own conclusion, and whatever conclusion you come to, I'm behind you. Just don't do it on autopilot. That's the only thing.
Thanks.
That had more of an emotional impact than I was expecting.
Same.
I was in professor mode. I don't know if you guys caught that, but there are different modes. One is I'm quiet and I'm listening, and the other is I'm teaching. It's my teaching voice. But
Yeah.
okay, well,
No, it was this feeling that you accepted me and that gave me the option to make my own decisions as long as I'm consciously, critically thinking and analyzing it.
yeah,
Which is I appreciate.
yeah, and I think it's not my place to tell you that something is right or wrong. I mean, I may do that from time to time, but I think the most important thing is for you to decide. I think you should explore.
Chad, I want to tell you guys, Dr. K and I are going to do this every week now at this time. If you don't like this time slot, tweet at us. We'll think of a different time slot. If I kind of like this time slot, maybe 1 hour forward or 1 hour back, whatever. But
yeah, Wednesdays 1 to 3.
Wednesdays 1 to 3 Eastern is our current plan.
Yep.
Tweet at us if you want it slightly changed. Are you flexible to move it an hour here or there?
Yeah, I just need to know ahead of time.
Gotcha.
Because I schedule other things.
Yep.
Yeah, so let me just think about this real quick. Okay, so thanks a lot, Reckful.
Yeah, thank you
and I'll
so
talk
much.
to you next week.
I enjoyed this. I don't feel overwhelmed like I went too far, but I feel like I learned a good amount, and I'm ready to go on with my day and get some stuff done. And I hope you guys in chat enjoyed yourselves, and thanks for the hearts.
Take care.
Take care. See you next time. See you next week.